so day seven, strategic movement, how to advance without getting hit. This, let's just say the quiet part loud. By day 7, most of you already know you're stuck in that, you're stuck. You can feel it. You can feel it. You can feel the containment. You can feel the freeze. You can see the delays stacking up like damp cardboard. But here's the kicker. Most people destroy their cases in the process of trying to unstick themselves. They panic, they push, they threaten complaints, they demand action, they send long emails explaining the injustice. They escalate emotionally because they think urgency equals effectiveness. And the system, which is already nervous, reads that instability not as legitimate frustration. And this is the paradox nobody warns you about. If you push too hard, you confirm the system's fear. If you don't push at all, you stay frozen forever. And day 7, here we are now, is about mastering that middle path. Controlled, precise, strategic movement that forces progress without triggering the defensive reflexes that make the system clamp down harder rather than let you through easier. The system does respond to pressure, but only the right kind. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The system will move, but only when it feels safest moving in your direction. That's the key. Not safest for the child, safest for them. So when you push, you're not pushing for justice. You're pushing for the system to feel safe taking the next step. And that's the difference. You're changing your thinking. There is a difference there. If you push emotionally, you look volatile. If you push aggressively, you look risky. If you push with righteous outrage, you look unmanageable. But if you push with clarity, brevity, documentation, structure, and calm repetition, then you stop looking like a threat and start looking like a solution. Strategic movement has 3 rules. You need to tattoo these on your forehead. Sorry, on your brain. You could put them on your forehead, I suppose. Rule 1, move only in writing. Move only in writing. Phone calls create ambiguity. And if you're going to make ambiguity, creates interpretation. Interpretation creates risk. Written communication anchors the timeline. And it limits misinterpretation, records everything, creates accountability, and shows discipline. Every movement you make should generate more paper, because paper is your shield and your sword. You need a paper trail for everything. Even phone calls, you need to be recording those. Don't tell them you're recording them, but just record them. And rule number 2 is you set deadlines without aggression. The system hates deadlines, not because they're unreasonable, but because they're deadlines. And deadlines eliminate their favorite tactic, which is inertia. But you can't set deadlines for like a lunatic. You have to. This has to be the format for clarity and to avoid drift. For clarity and to avoid drift, may I request confirmation by whatever date so that I can plan my next steps appropriately. Not emotional. That's no emotion. No demanding. No nothing. That's literally just telling it how it is. No accusations, purely transactional and administrative. And the system can't punish administrative, transactional politeness. And rule number 3, use escalation as a signal, not a threat. Don't escalate because you're angry. You escalate because you need a record that you attempted. You need to show that you tried resolution before escalation. So when you nudge the court, the solicitor or CAFCAS or social services, it should look like, I suppose it should sound like something like, I understand the pressures on the system. I simply need to ensure the matter does not stall further. Please advise next steps, because it puts the pressure on them in a way that's, again, transactional, business-like. And this is how you move without triggering. But whenever you're dealing with anyone, whether it be if on the telephone, then you need to be recording everything. Do not tell them you're recording. Do not tell them you're recording, but just record everything, because they lie. Yeah, they lie. Yeah, most parents don't believe these people would lie, don't believe that these people would do that sort of thing, but they do. And I'm telling you they do, because I can prove it. I've got multiple parents, and I've got multiple recordings that say one thing, and court orders that say something different, and transcripts that say something different. So I wouldn't say anything that I couldn't verify or confirm to be true. So that's what you need to be doing. So that's That's how you move without triggering. So the 3 forms of movement, and this is like ninja level. Like most parents only use one form of movement: panic. Yeah, and if you panic, you're fucked. Yeah, so there's actually 3 forms. And number 1 is vertical movement, so pushing up the chain of authority, so managing upwards. Sort of legal advisors, and then you've got court admin, Kafka's escalations, and pathways, judicial office complaints, and then the case progression teams. This is about pressure from above. Then you've got the horizontal movement, which is pulling in parallel agencies. So you pull in the school, and then you pull in the doctors, health visitor, Senko, police logs, safeguarding referrals, any emotional well-being services. This is about sort of pressure from the side, forcing updates into the case indirectly. And then you've got the procedural movement, which is using rules and not emotion, sort of C2 applications, compliance requests, timetable challenges, chasing directions and requesting updates, logging breaches. This is pressure through structure. And if you combine all 3 and you create movement without becoming the problem parent, that's how you create movement without becoming the problem parent. Most people use movement to vent, not to advance, because they panic and then the aggression and the emotion take over, which is why they fail. They communicate to discharge emotion, not to alter trajectory. They write novels in their statements and they write novels in their communication. They explain history in the detail that they don't need to. They repeat grievances. They overstate the urgency and they weaponize pain. They signal destabilization. They're leading with emotion, and the system responds by freezing harder. And I've got a number of cases that's going to happen to, and I'm trying to warn them, but that's going to happen. It will happen. Because the system reads intensity as volatility and volatility as risk. So strategic movement is the opposite. Strategic movement is boring, and boring wins. Boring is short, boring is structured, boring is focused, and boring is procedural. Boring is documented, and boring is repeatable, and boring is safe. Safe is progress. The paradox of speed. Speed in family court is not measured by how fast you move. No way. Speed is measured by how fast the system feels safe moving in your direction. You want everything happening yesterday, but if you move too fast, they freeze. They see that as a risk. If you move too slowly, you disappear. The art is controlled pressure, not emotional urgency. Institutional inevitability. Today's practice task is the movement blueprint. You're going to design your movement strategy for the next 14 days. You're going to have 3 sections, a vertical plan. You write down who needs to be nudged, what dates have they passed, and what updates are overdue. Now, think about what administrative questions you can ask. Then the horizontal plan, which is list the agencies or professionals who are involved, whose input will create case progression. School, GP, social services, CAFCAS, any support services, call it counselling stuff, all that sort of stuff, attendance logs, well-being concerns, all that stuff. And then the procedural plan, identify the next concrete steps, which direction is outstanding. So what evidence must be submitted, and what disclosure hasn't arrived yet, what order needs enforcing, what deadlines need chasing. Then put dates next to it and work towards each one, like real dates, not vague hopes, real dates, like real deadlines. And that is how you thaw the freeze. So the shift. If day 6 showed you the trap, day 7 showed you the path out, not by force, because force doesn't work, and not by rage, because rage doesn't work, and not by begging, because begging doesn't work for no one, but by movement. Controlled movement, controlled, planned movement, calm movement, and relentless, like a rockhopper penguin movement, documented movement, unavoidable. Tomorrow, we will be dealing with the narrative engineering, and how to construct a case that the system feels safe adopting, even if the truth is messy.